Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Winter cover crops are a great way to build up your garden soil in the winter. Also, boxwood shrubs are popular in the landscape. Today we're going to talk about them. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Carl Wayne Hardeman. Mr. Carl is a master gardener right here in Shelby County. And Carol Reese is with us.
Hey, Chris.
Carol is an ornamental horticulture specialist with UT Extension. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you.
We're going to talk cover crops.
Cover
And I know you know a little bit about cover crops.
I do.
So let's start with this one. What are cover crops?
Okay, well, you could just say it's farming with no bare ground.
Okay.
I mean, you could say that, and essentially what you don't want in a garden is any bare ground.
Sure. So then why do we need to plant the cover crop?
Well, there's a lot of good reasons, and I'd kind of like to put it in context, and one is that we as gardeners and farmers, I think we have a responsibility to at least preserve the quality of our soil and improve it. And so there's a full range of practices called regenerative farming, of which cover crops is a part of it, to build soil health over time, which is important because we don't digest food, the microbes in our gut do, okay? So we want to eat healthy plants, and healthy plants don't digest food either. They, the microbes in the soil digest it and then grow into their roots and inject it in there. So that's why if you have bare ground, there's nothing for the microbes to eat, and they die. And so that's another reason for having. So the reasons, prevent or reduce soil erosion. And we all know, like Dr. John Bradley said one time, these farmers think that a beautifully plowed field is beautiful, right?
Right.
And it's out there doing soil and wind erosion.
Right.
So we want to prevent that. We want to reduce compaction by improving tilth. And essentially what we're trying to do is, there was a quote this morning by a friend of mine that said, it's not really how much rain you get, it's how much you keep. So if you have a cover crop on there, you're retaining much more of the moisture. And if you look on the side of the road, how green all those plants and trees are, because they got good soil structure and all these things. And others, you're increasing soil health and fertility. And essentially, you're feeding the microbes in the soil. And that, and others, you're increasing soil structure, such as porosity. As this year's crops die, they leave little, the roots decompose, leaving little air and water channels, which is a good thing.
That's good.
And frankly, a lot of plants produce or scavenge nutrients.
So what kind of cover crops, can we use?
Well, just about anything. Like if you're, it depends on whether you're trying to do this in the summer or spring, fall, winter. Right now, we're kind of talking about winter.
Right.
So something that grows during the winter. Things like greens, turnip greens, rutabagas, and so forth. My Hakurei turnips that grew all last winter, this spring, I'm still pulling them up. They're still great big white turnips. Of course, we didn't have a winter. Annual ryegrass, winter wheat, and stuff like that. When y'all were talking about, last week about chickweed, how do you get chickweed? Well, it just depends on how, in the spring, how late can you wait before you start planting? Well, if you plant a good thick rye or winter wheat, it'll choke out the chickweed. So you can do it organically without spraying anything. Then like I said, various grains, various legumes, clover, vetch, peas, even, I don't know if it'd be a cover crop, but I grew fava beans last winter. Fava beans like cold weather. So So anyway, always trying something, right?
Always trying
Experimenting about something, right?
Hey, you're a master gardener. You gotta do that.
Everything's an experiment, no
That's right.
failures.
That's right. And I guess somebody's probably thinking, hey, aren't some of these weeds that are out here considered to be cover crops? 'Cause-
Why not?
Yeah.
That's
why
what I
not?
feel
Why can they
like.
be?
And
I'd rather have chickweed there than bare ground.
That's right. 'Cause you just
the
mentioned
Land,
about
the
the
Land,
background.
Land Institute, West Jackson, is growing grains in prairie grass that has 231 species of plants in there. That 230 of them are weeds. You know,
I see. There you go.
it's soil
How do you define
diversity.
a
and-
weed?
Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right. A weed's something that's hard to pull up.
Okay. And we're pretty much the one that defines it as a weed.
Right. If you're gardening for wildlife, they're like, please, please leave the weeds.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
Let
true.
me ask you about the legumes. So why are legumes important as
Okay.
a cover crop?
All right.
Because folks hit it all the time.
Yeah.
So why?
Mr. Chris, the answer is they fix nitrogen out of the air into the ectomycorrhizal fungi
Wow. Okay.
that grow on the side of the roots.
Okay.
And they take the nitrogen out of the air and fix it to these nodules. And so it's in the soil. So you're getting free nitrogen.
Free, okay.
By the way, you know where now this is a rhetorical question, you know where most of the nitrogen comes from, and it's not that plant in Millington, but it's from lightning. Lightning, and that and the microbes, which are tiny enough to be able to break down larger molecules and separate from that.
Well, let me ask you about this too, about the cover crop. So do we need to till those under or what? Or
I
you
would
just
like
leave
to,
them there?
like I'm following one of my heroes, Dr. John Bradley, and somebody come up with a good reason to till. You know, somebody, and let's just start with, if you had roots on your plants, would you cut off 99% of the roots? You wouldn't, would you?
No.
Well, the root system on a plant, since it's been fed by all of this little fungus roots, is spread over a vast area. That's why it's able to pick up nutrients and water and everything from a wide area and grow into the plant. If you go out there and till, you're just cutting up all of that web that exists that feeds the plants. So that's good enough for me. There are other reasons.
Okay.
So you don't till it, you kill it and seed through it.
You drill it.
Drill
Drill
through
it.
Right.
Drill it.
Yes, but you're going to have to do something to get the cover crop down to be able to do that, correct?
Well, West Jackson doesn't up at the Land Institute, but yeah. Another one of my heroes, Stanley Wise, is county agent down in Union County, Mississippi. He's going to take a drill, an actual drill, and drilled holes in his garden and put
drop
that.
them in?
And you can mulch and kill your weeds, smother them down. You know, you don't have to spray.
All right. Good stuff,
stuff.
man. We appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Oh, I love
appreciate
it.
that
I love
information, Mr. Carl. Good stuff. Let's talk a little bit about why this pepper plant is wilting. Just a few weeks ago, it was actually doing just fine. Then all of a sudden, the whole plant just wilted. And what usually causes this is a bacterial wilt. Bacterial wilts usually happen because of too much moisture. So what we have to do here is, the next time, is make sure we correct the drainage problem. Because again, this area is actually poorly drained. So let's correct the drainage area. And we may need to put more organic material into this ground. Build it up a little bit so it will drain a lot better. So again, this is bacterial wilt. And as you can see, the whole plant has wilted. Because this plant has bacterial wilt, it cannot be saved. You will have to pull this plant up and throw it away. I wouldn't throw it in the compost pile, I just put it in the trash. All right, Miss Carol, boxwoods. Before we start on that, singular or plural?
Plural. I mean, the singular form of the word is plural.
It's plural, okay.
Yes.
Boxwood.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I always wondered that, because I think Dale might have mentioned that to me a couple of times. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about boxwood.
And you're also saying it properly boxwood. A lot of people just call it box, common box.
Oh,
it
common
really
box,
should be
okay.
written boxwood as one word.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the cultivars.
Well, let's talk about species.
Oh,
I
species.
mean,
I
you know,
understand.
and I always like to tell the story when I start talking about boxwood. And when I worked at a garden center in school, a man came in and said, I need to buy one. The UPS truck backed over my boxwood.
Right.
I said, what species? You know, is it Japanese little leaf? Is it a Korean box? Is it a common box? I don't know. So we've got to know which one. And then when we get into the species, all the different cultivars, because they all look a little bit different. So we actually didn't have the same one he had. So if you do put boxwood in your landscape, one thing I want to start with right away is make a note somewhere of what exact species and cultivar you purchase. So if you ever do need to replace one, and you probably will,
you probably will, right?
you'll know exactly what to ask for.
Okay. All right. Good.
The one that everybody around here loves to call American box, there is no American boxwood. Because if it's the English or common box, the one that you normally see in the formal gardens, I was taught to call that common boxwood. It's actually of North African, Western Europe, and Eastern Asian origin. All of them are. I'm wondering if it got called American because it was so well used in the Williamsburg, colonial Williamsburg. It's a very popular plant. But common boxwood to me is a more proper name. It's a picky plant. It's a picky plant.
Okay.
It does not like our hot sun.
Ugh.
It does not like our cold wind.
Oh boy.
Both will make it turn bronzy orange. And so I always think it's like Goldilocks. It's too hot, it's too cold, this is just right. You've got to find just the right site for them. And in the root zone, if they have any kind of poor drainage issues, they're out of here too. And they get root knot nematodes. So all kinds of things.
It's a lot of problems.
People say, you hate boxwood. I don't hate boxwood. I like boxwood. I just like to see them well sited, and a boxwood can be a beautiful thing. As extension agents, you and I learn to hate plants. We get a lot of phone calls.
That's right.
We're like, please
Exactly
plant
right.
something
That's
else.
right.
We can give you a little green shrub that's going to do well where you need a little green shrub. So the common box has a more pointy leaf, and this is how I identified it for the man. I said, the common box has a more pointed leaf, and it smells a little bit like cat urine.
Oh gosh.
He said, yeah, that's it. Some people actually like that smell.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's an interesting smell. So it's going to be dark green, needs some needs some shade, and needs some protection from the wind. We do, in the Korean little leaf types, and the Japanese little leaf and the Korean types, they will take more hot sun.
Okay.
They can still bronze up in the winter, but they have bred now, and they have come out with cultivars that, to me, the whole issue with the boxwood is making it stay green.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep them green if they're not happily sited. So the Japanese little leaf are more suited to our hot sun, and if you get one like Winter Gem, and actually some of these, they have gone back and crossed with the English box or common box, Buxus sempervirens. And you know I love to teach a little bit of Latin.
No, I know you do. Go right ahead.
What does semperfi mean?
That means always live.
Always faithful.
Yeah, no.
Semper
Well,
Fi.
means live.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah, semper fidelis means always faithful.
Yes. So semperfi is short for that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, sempervirens is always green. Sempervirens. And you'll
Always
see a lot of
green.
things
Okay.
named
That's right.
sempervirens. It means that it keeps its green foliage through the wintertime. So then within that group, you'll have some really cool ones like Graham Blandy or D. Runk, which are tall pyramidal
Heard of
forms.
that one, yeah.
But everybody likes to like that little bitty mounding edging boxwood called Safruticosa. Safruticosa is just a horrible plant for this area. It is not happy. It doesn't do well. It looks sparse. And I see people trying and trying to make it grow where they want it to grow. I see a lot of people do restorations of old historic gardens, and the original plan called for this boxwood. So they keep putting it in there and keep killing it. And I like to quote Durr on that. He said they are sacrificing pragmatism for the sake of historical, So I just, let's get over it. Let's go to one that actually will do well. So I do like them. They just need to be well sited.
Right.
Also, and I read this somewhere, it says it's so true, by the time you've taken a pruder to them, most people shear them into such
Yes, they
unnatural
do.
forms. Why would it matter anyway?
Yeah.
But I fell in love with them one day, wandering around the Ralston Arboretum. I found a collection that had been allowed to grow naturally, and nobody had touched them with their shears. And they're beautiful. They can be kind of frothy and weeping and all sorts of cool textures. So if you're going to put it in the hot sun, the message is go with the Japanese little leaf types or the Korean types, and you're going to have a lot better luck with it. I have one that's called Unraveled. It's actually a weeping boxwood that I've had in a pot for many years in the hot sun and the cold wind, and it's done beautifully. So you've got to find the right boxwood for the job.
Okay.
in
So stay
general.
green. That's good.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
Go ahead.
I got time to talk about pruning
Yeah.
them because that's what people do badly.
I was just about to say that because we get more questions about pruning boxwood than anything else.
Number one, don't prune anything.
Uh-oh.
Anything in the fall.
All right.
Oh, okay.
After August, you should be through.
Okay.
If you prune anything after August, and a boxwood is a great example, and it has time to put out new growth, and that is extremely sensitive to frost. So you're going to get all those brown tips, and I see it happen over and over in the landscape, and we've got this horrible little burnt shrub because they pruned it at the wrong time. So if you do prune it at the end of winter, that's when you want to do it.
End of winter.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And you should properly prune it by going and doing what's called plucking. You go in and remove some of the growth. Don't shear it. You want to let light into it as best you can.
Right.
And that's going to keep it healthier and more
But you know,
dense.
folks like to shear it. They like the meatballs right across the top. You know that.
And you get this question a lot too. We got this giant old boxwood. What do we do to control the size? Can we cut it down? Will it leaf out? So what do you tell them? I give about half a 50-50 chance.
That's what I
It'll
tell them.
leaf out. It'll leave out.
Yeah, leave out. There you
It'll
go. Yeah, exactly right.
You can reduce its size gradually over a few years by doing the plucking method. Reduce, reduce, allowing it to produce new growth in the interior until it's still a healthy plant. You can reduce its size. You just can't do it all at once. You can't reduce it all at once.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a little time left. The American Boxwood Society.
Yes,
that
if
about?
you really love boxwood, and I do like boxwood. The American Boxwood Society is a great society you could join, learn all about the different cultivars and what does well. There's a splendid boxwood collection, as you mentioned, Dale Skaggs at the Dixon Garden and Gallery right here in town. And Cheekwood. Cheekwood also has a very good boxwood collection. And they often have boxwood meetings at Cheekwood if you want to join one of those societies and learn a lot more about boxwood.
Right. And I'm pretty sure Dale can teach you a lot about pruning techniques.
Oh, Dale's awesome with the boxwood. He's my go-to guy
Yeah.
for boxwood.
No
Absolutely.
doubt.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate that good information, Ms. Carol.
All right,
much.
thank you.
All right.
I'm going to deadhead this little floribunda bush. Got spent bloom on the top. Mother Nature will kind of tell you where to deadhead or prune. Here there's a black spot and it's died, so there's not a lot of growth in this area. But right under it there's a leaf that's got a little red beginning of another bloom and another cane. And so I'm going to prune about 1/4 of an inch above that. And then once this blooms, that new cane's going to go the same way the leaf's pointing, and it's going to go outside of the bush. When these finish out, I would typically take that whole cluster off, and here again, there's a little spot under this leaf that's trying to start, and I'd cut 1/4 inch above that. If you see any rose hips, I'll just finger prune that. You want to get rid of the rose hips because it's creating seeds, and the rose will go dormant. So cut or pinch those off. Always wear gloves because these things will bite you. Over here, if you want to take this little stuff off, you can, or it'll fall off. And it just kind of dresses your bush up and help promote new growth.
All right, this is our Q&A session. Mr. Carr, you help us out, okay?
Okay.
Here's our first viewer email. What should I have planted in my garden already for the fall and early winter? And this is from Leonard in Bolivar, Tennessee. So what needs to be in the ground already?
Well, it's from a
fall.
vegetable garden.
We don't know. We don't
know.
We don't
but
know.
These could go either way.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of the chards.
Ah,
Swiss chard, especially
Beautiful plants, man. I like
the
those.
rainbow lights
Ah, I
and
like
neon
the
lights,
colors.
ruby colored, orange, yellow, golden, and they hold up very well to
White
even
locust.
hard freezes.
okay.
So don't get any of that flowering kale, those flowering cabbages. Once we have a good hard frost, they're out of here.
Right.
Well, I like turnip greens.
Turnip
I mean,
greens?
you can-
Okay.
and especially the Hakurei or Tokyo or just right, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
They grow all winter real well, kind of like a rutabaga.
Okay.
And there's a beautiful, if they're again looking for something ornamental as well as edible, there's a red mustard that's just beautiful. The Osaki red, gorgeous big broad purple
Red
leaf.
sails, I think.
Yeah, there's more than
That's
one.
lettuce. No, I'm sorry.
Lettuce
that's
is red. Yeah, that is red cells. Some of the lettuce would be an option as well.
Can you plant those things now that we're talking about though?
It's a
This
bit late
'Cause
because if
late?
it's a little
Yeah.
tiny baby and we have a hard freeze,
Right. Knock it out.
it'll probably knock it out. But who knows? We haven't had a winter. I just planted a couple of weeks ago, I planted some of the hardier forms of kale, like red boar Russian kale and the blue Russian kale. They're extremely tough and will take a hard freeze, and some of the chards. Some of the oriental cabbages, the pak choi and bok choy, maybe, you know, it just depends on how soon we have a real hard freeze.
Okay. I'm assuming we'll have a hard freeze at some point.
We assume we
Yeah.
might, but
We
we've
might.
had mild winters sometimes where it didn't really get cold.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Mr. Leonard. Hope that helps you out. All right, here's our next viewer email. Should I put my hibiscus in pots and bring them in for the winter? And this is from Miss Ann. Yeah, so everybody's now gearing up and hunkering down for winter, I see. So what do you think about that one?
Is it a winter? Is it a hardy hibiscus or tropical
See,
hibiscus?
we don't know.
I mean,
Yeah. And I don't know if she knows.
Yeah. The hardy hibiscus, the perennial hibiscus, of course, will die down during the
Right.
winter and come back and bloom. The Chinese hibiscus, the tropical forms, got usually more gaudy, smaller flowers. You would need to bring that in. I just hate to. You know, you can buy them again.
Yeah, you
They
buy
never
'em.
look good through the winter. They struggle. By the time you put them out and get them back into a state of good health, you've lost a month of summer bloom to me. But if you wanted to, sure. If you've got a good, bright, sunny window or something like that where they might get along, treat them for insects and
Yes,
stuff
I was going to
first.
mention that. Yeah, definitely treat it for
Because
insects.
if you brought some insects in, they're going to multiply.
That's right.
And find the sunniest place you can. Keep them just barely watered. Don't overwater them.
Okay. Get as much as a root ball as you possibly can and put it in a pot.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to bring it inside, you can do it that way.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Miss Ann. Here's our next viewer email. I planted purple fountain grass at my mailbox. Do I leave it in the ground all winter is one question. The second question is, do I need to cut it back once it turns brown? And this is from Mark. So,
I see purple fountain grass sold as a perennial a lot of times in the big box stores, and it is not.
it is not.
It is
Okay,
not.
It is not.
It's an
All right.
annual. In purple fountain grass, if they're talking about Pennisetum rubrum,
Rubrum probably is what
which
you
is
see at the big box.
right.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to make it, and you might as well let the frost kill it and buy it again. Not worth digging up and trying to overwinter it. There are some other red foliaged grasses that could come back. The Pennisetum purpureum is going to be a great big one.
Okay.
It's been coming back for us at the station, but it doesn't have those pretty fluffy grass seed plumes that they want from
Right.
the purple fountain grass.
Which I like too, yeah, because I actually have that at home
right.
myself.
I do too. I use
Yeah, I
it
have it at
too.
home.
But that's an annual. I buy it again every year.
Okay.
As far as any of that ornamental grass, pampas or whatever, you know, it's structure. It's pretty. Brown is not an ugly color, you know.
Right.
And I think about the critters, and I've got a lot of home birds that roost inside my. I call them knock-em-out roses, you know,
Okay.
you know, and inside I don't trim various
so
things up
with
till
you,
in the
Carl.
spring because I want a place for the critters.
That's
to live.
Remember, I said don't prune anything in
That's
the
right.
fall.
You
I
did.
leave my
Anything.
grasses
Right.
standing absolutely all winter, whether they're annuals or not, because I like the way they look in the winter, and they do provide food. You're absolutely right,
Yeah, you're
Carly.
right.
Good point.
Yeah, glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Here's our next viewer email. Can I leave my banana tree in the ground through the winter, or should I bring it in? And this is from Paul. So everybody again, looking forward to the winter. So this is banana tree. You want to start on that, Mr. Carr? What do you think? Your 2
well,
cents
you
on that
gotta, you know, there's two things. The root is really what you want to, and that's fairly shallow. And so what I have done in the past is trim it back maybe a foot, so dig it up, take it and just throw it in the corner of the garage, and it's work. But what you're trying to avoid is, freezing,
Right.
which is not that big a problem. You could mulch over it. The other thing is our soil tends to be wet in the winter, and you can rot the root on that. Although they grow in wet, like down in the Cayman Islands, they're growing in soggy land, but they can rot.
And I'd
here.
like to offer them another option, and
All
that
right,
is if
another
there is
option.
a hardy banana, more than one, there's a couple actually, a small dwarf form, a yellow blooming form, I believe is Musa volutna, but Musa baju, the
heard that
baju
one,
banana
yeah.
is a monster. Now,
Okay.
you got to put it in a good place because it's going to become an enormous grove over time.
Okay.
But it's hardy to 10 below. You don't have to dig it
wow.
up. Freeze will kill it down the ground, and then come spring, once it gets warm, here it comes again. So you're going to have a great big banana, probably 15 feet tall, that's going to come back for you every year without digging up.
Okay. Yeah, my neighbor actually, mulches it. Yeah, put some mulch and puts like a black tub over the top of it.
yeah.
He does that, and it works.
That'll
It
work.
comes back every year. All right. So here's our next viewer email. My cryptomeria is turning brown near the center trunk. Should I be concerned? And this is from Mr. Billy. It's turning brown near the center trunk.
You know that's for this.
But you know what too
I
though?
don't know
We've had so much hot, dry weather.
Yes.
If they have not been irrigated, you know what happens next, right?
Yeah, needle drop.
The needles will start dropping.
Yeah. But it could also just be shaded out. Any
Or,
tree,
right?
the leaves in the interior that are not getting sunlight are a debit. They suck photosynthate
Right.
from the leaves that are getting sunlight, that are producing the photosynthate that feeds the tree. So the tree says, hey, I'm getting rid of these jokers. They're freeloading.
Have to-
They're
yeah,
not
have-
helping me
have
out.
to compensate, right.
I'm done with them. So
Right.
that could be all it is. A lot of times, what we'll do with a lot of our conifers is go in the interior, just knock
Shake 'em.
those loose needles out and shake them out, and then it looks fine, and there's nothing wrong with the plant.
Right. But again, thinking about, our recent,
Yes.
drought-like conditions,
Yes.
moderate drought-like conditions.
But if the new growth
especially that
looks
haven't been irrigated.
fine,
Yeah, if the new growth is fine. Of
I
course, we
wouldn't
don't
be
know
concerned.
that. But,
Right.
but yeah, but I didn't realize you can just go in there and
You
shake
know,
them.
Yeah, we do.
But I know they have to compensate, right, because they're getting shaded.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Billy, hope that helps you out. So, Mr. Carl, Ms. Karen, we're out of time.
All right.
All right, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. We have more information on cover crops and boxwood online at familyplotgarden.com. While you're there, take a look at the garden calendar. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.